Welcome back to the Unacceptable News. I'm your host, Justin Bush. Kittens, they've stolen my heart. Today's story is about UFOs and nukes. So, we have this strong relationship between these unidentified flying objects and these nuclear facilities, nuclear missiles, nuclear submarines, nuclear stockpiles, nuclear laboratories, and we really are just going to do a quick rundown of some of these situations that have happened over the years. And this really, I guess we should start with the FBI documents. So there were some released FBI documents from the 1950s that refer to these anomalous objects flying near a nuclear installation. I believe it was Los Alamos National Labs. They called them green fireballs. So these strange green fireballs were flying around these nuclear facilities way back in the 50s. So this is literally 3 years after we invented the nuclear bomb, and the facilities have been operating for a few years. So you have maybe 8-10 years where they were developing this nuclear technology, but you only have maybe 3 to 5 years after the invention of the nuclear bomb where these strange flying objects were seen over nuclear installations. And this is an open admission by the FBI that this happened in the 1950s. And then when you move on from that, you move on to cases in the 1960s. You have, in 1964, you have Robert Jacobs, who was an Air Force chief. He says that he was tasked to record a test flight of an ICBM missile where a UFO flew up, it beamed some lights down at this object, and then the object disintegrated. So it essentially shot down this ICBM, and the military has this film. So we'll play you a clip of that.
We watched that stage burn out, we watched the second stage burn out, we watched the third stage burn out, and into the frame came something else. It flew into the frame like this, and it shot a beam of light at the warhead, which is represented by my thumb here. Now, remember, all this stuff is flying at several thousand miles an hour. So this thing fires a beam of light at the warhead, hits it, and then this thing flies up like this. Meanwhile, we're all going like this, fires another beam of light, goes around like this, we're going like this, fires another beam of light, goes down like this, fires another beam of light, and then flies out the way it came in. And the warhead tumbles out of outer space. Now, I saw that. I don't give a goddamn what anybody else says about it. I saw that on film. Phil Klass can kiss my ass. He wasn't there. I was.
So, you move from 1964, and then in 1967, you have the case of Captain Robert Salas. Now, Robert Salas was in charge. He was a nuclear missile launch operator. He was essentially the commander of this unit of nuclear missiles. I believe that was at the Maelstrom Air Force Base in 1967. So he's downstairs in his bunker, and he gets a call from the people that are doing security for the installation, and there's a UFO outside. At the exact same time this UFO is witnessed by multiple people outside, Robert Salas is informed that it's happening, and simultaneously you have all these nuclear missiles being shut down at the same time. So you have independent missile batteries being shut down simultaneously in close relationship to a UFO. And we'll play you a clip of that as well.
In 1967, at that time you were missile launch officer for 10 nuclear warheads.
Yes, I was there as on a combat crew. We had control of 10 nuclear missiles, and sometime in the evening I was in command, and I received a phone call from my guards upstairs because we were underground. And he said that they were seeing strange lights in the sky, flying very fast and stopping and reversing course and making maneuvers that they didn't think aircraft could make. So I was not, didn't consider his comments seriously, I guess. And so I basically hung up the phone, and then he called back 5 minutes later, and this time he was very frightened, very scared, shouting into the phone, saying that he had his guards there, and they were seeing a oval-shaped orange-red object hovering just above the gate of our facility. And he was frightened. He wanted me to tell him what to do. What should he do? And so I said something like, make sure nothing comes in, use force if necessary, but we had to protect the weapons that we had. So he hung up the phone, and I went to tell my commander about this phone call. And as I was speaking to him, the missiles went into inoperable condition, what we called no-go. They could not be launched, and we lost all 10 of them while this object was still above us. He reported this to the command post, and they told him the same thing had happened at another site, although it was a week earlier. But they also lost 10 missiles due to this object. So I report on this.
So now you have the FBI's admission, you have Robert Jacobs' admission, and now you have Robert Salas's admission. And then when you keep going down that thread of all of these UFOs in close proximity to nuclear facilities, then you find yourself with Mario Woods. Now, Mario Woods is a fairly new testimony that was really highlighted by the whistleblowers that came out of the ATIP program. So Lou Elizondo has really put Mario Woods on a pedestal. He brought Mario Woods' testimony from 1977 out to the public in a really big way. I believe he was on the show that Lou Elizondo did, where he went around to these whistleblowers and provided their testimony to the public. I cannot think of the name of the show. I'll put it down below if I can. But Mario Woods' testimony is very similar. He was at Ellsworth Air Force Base, and he had a run-in with a so-called UFO. He had missing time. He was found in a different location. So let me just play you a little clip of his testimony.
This is where we pulled the vehicle to. And this is the fence line of the facility.
Mario vividly remembers his paralyzing confrontation with the ominous glowing sphere. But the terrifying events that followed remained buried for many years, until a hypnotist helped him uncover hidden memories.
As you're laying there totally relaxed, your mind starts to wander. And it goes back to that time that you're in the military. Before anything happens, you're sitting in the patrol vehicle. And what happened next?
I was afraid to leave the vehicle. I should have just stepped out.
It's okay, you're safe now, Mario. We're just looking at a movie. Okay? Take a deep breath and just pause the picture.
The atmosphere was like vacuumed away from us.
So it's becoming difficult to breathe?
Yeah, there was no oxygen, there was no air. I pulled myself up on the windowsill of that truck, and I flashed my mag light at this thing, not following any sequence, no more different than what was at the launch control facility where they're launched from. And almost immediately, the pressure stopped.
Did you feel like you'd communicated with them?
I felt as if I asked for
Relief?
relief.
Seeing and interacting with a UFO over the nuclear missile silo was shocking enough. But there was more in store for Mario and his partner, Sergeant Michael Johnson. A paralyzing encounter with several alien beings.
So how many were there?
4.
Okay.
In the top one behind.
So how tall is the tall one?
6 foot, baby.
Can you describe him?
Yes. He had a long head. He had a very long head. And he went down to the bathroom. And the little guys didn't talk to me.
We were sitting here, and I just remember whispers. That's all I heard.
Well, what's around you now?
I'm in some type of room, some kind of inspection area. They're just checking me. And I asked, where's Michael? And they told me not to worry about him. I see that big tall bastard, and he's looking at me. I don't like this guy. He has a uniform on that has creases in it, like a ranking officer or something. It's this tall guy. He's really not a good person. I feel a pinch on my lower left side now. It's like somebody's got a hold of me or something. And it's fast. It's not kind.
And then everything just went black from that point. Next thing I know, I'm 5 to 7 miles off in that direction at a place called Newell Lake, which is a reservoir for this whole area.
And lastly, we're going to talk about Rendlesham Forest. So, you've got the FBI, you've got Mario Woods, you've got Robert Jacobs, you've got Robert Salas, you've got all these people, these admissions of close contact with UFOs in nuclear facilities. And then we get to the Rendlesham Forest incident, where we have an object over these bases of Bentwaters Base that is seen shining some sort of laser-like light down into their weapons storage facility. Now, at the time, I believe it was classified that they had nuclear facilities here, nuclear weapons in this base, the RAF Bentwaters Base and Woodbridge. So it's they call them twin bases, RAF Woodbridge and RAF Bentwaters, and that's the area where Rendlesham Forest happened. But before the Rendlesham Forest incident, this unknown object was seen hovering over the base and shining these laser-like lights down into the weapons storage facility. And we now know that supposedly these were nuclear weapons. And you could probably look up the pictures of these nuclear storage sites. In fact, I'll put one up right here. And you can see that they have these bunkers in place to supposedly hold these nuclear weapons to protect Europe against the Soviet Union. So during the Cold War, you have an incursion over a nuclear base by an unknown object that is directly interfering with their nuclear operations. And you have this documented not just in America, but also in foreign countries like the Soviet Union. So all of these dozens upon dozens of incidents of close encounters with UFOs over nuclear facilities, whether they be laboratories or nuclear weapons holding sites, or whether they're close proximation with nuclear submarines. We have some admission of submarines picking up these unidentified objects on on sonar underneath the water. These nuclear submarines are supposed to be top secret. Their location is not supposed to be given to anyone. And, they're admitting that there are objects going at speeds that are faster than their fastest torpedoes underneath the water in close proximity to nuclear facilities, nuclear ships. And so with this, admission by the government and all these government whistleblowers, why are UFOs constantly interfering with nuclear capabilities around the world? If you'd like to support our channel, go to the description or in the pinned comment down below. That's the Unacceptable News. Don't like, don't subscribe, just run.